I'm just curious, like, what are your major influences on guitar?
I think, it was playing along to records and playing along to the radio, and just figuring out what I could figure out. I think, Hendrix was a mind blower. I mean, one of the best, guys to ever pick it up, So Hendrix, I loved. Also, I think Chuck Berry initially, made me want to play guitar too. Those two guys. And I think the guitar was very much just a gateway for me to write songs, to come up with guitar parts. So, of course, I suppose I paid attention to who played on records, who the studio guitar players were. I mean, I also remember hearing George Benson for the first time, and he blew my mind as well. And I just thought, wow, okay, this is a completely other thing, So I think Benson and Hendrix and Chuck Berry were maybe the foundational forebearers for me. But the studio players, people like Ray Parker Jr., Louis Shelton, Dean Parks,
Watson,
David T. Walker, Wawa Watson, yeah. Also love the guitar on Freddie Stone, with Sly, and Jimmy Nolan with James Brown, Hamish Stewart, with Average White Band. I love rhythm guitar players. Of course, Glenn Campbell, Ernie Isley,
yes,
who was very, Jimmy, obviously. There's Al McKay from Earth, Wind and Fire. I love those sort of interlocking rhythm parts, those funky things, just love it. Mark Ribot, when I heard him, he had something different, I really liked his playing. I really liked his sound. I basically like anything that sounds interesting and cool to me says something, I love tones. I love, as well. I like sound. So, I might like, Robert Fripp for the kind of more Frippatronic stuff that he does, or the kind of soundscapey stuff. I love
Adrian
that.
Belew.
Yeah, Adrian Belew. Yeah, exactly. Somebody that played a guitar not like a guitar. All this kind of things, and they all, I don't know. You get something from those things, that somehow come into your, arsenal of your bag of tricks a little bit. You need the right thing to bring those out. But I love all the great old blues players. B.B. King and Freddie King and Albert King and Earl King, and there's tons of great guys, like that, that are just, R.L. Burnside. It's just, guitar is one of those instruments. There's so many cool guitar players that play completely different sometimes from each other, and they all have a thing that they do that's cool. It's not always about speed. It's not always about being fancy. Tony Joe White's a guitar player I love. Very economical, he's not working very hard, man. He's just doing what he's doing, but he doesn't have to do anything else because what he's doing is working. All the feel, all the intentions there, the tone, it's there. It's perfect, so I think those things always are inspiring. But obviously the guys that played on records, Eric Gale, I always loved. Again, somebody that had a tone and a feel and a sensibility musically. He was himself, and you always could know it was Eric Gale when he was playing. Phil Upchurch, another great, unsung guitar player. There's just so many. There's just so many.
Yes, definitely. And Sugar Yotis.
Oh yeah, Sugar Yotis, incredible musician. Yeah, really incredible guitar player.
Yeah,
without doubt.
and bass player too. I don't know if you know that
Oh,
he played
totally.
on, Hot Rats, Frank Zappa album. He's on that
It's just
first
like
track.
funk comes out of his bass playing. It's just funky. It's like you don't even know. Like it's the attitude. Sometimes it's the you know what I mean. It's
Definitely.
the way he's playing the notes more than the notes he's playing. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
No, completely.
Well, for me, it was Wall Watson and Ray Parker Jr.
I
You
think
know,
Ray's really unsung.
yes,
And you
absolutely.
can hear him on a record and know it's him without a doubt.
Yeah,
Once you know what he plays like, and it'll be him and Lukather and another guitar player on the same track. And you can tell what Ray's doing, just so
yeah.
great at what he did.
Very,
Every
very
note's
inspiring.
money. Every note's money.
Yeah.
No bullshit.
Well, those are all guitar players that influenced me also, and I love what they do, but I also love what you do because you've adapted that thing from them, and you were able to create things also from a drummer's perspective too, having the rhythm
Yeah.
aspect. When I first heard you play rhythm guitar, I was like, that is something cool. Just the groove and what you were doing,
Yeah. Thank you, man.
how deep
It's
it
not the kind of
was.
thing that people wanted to do either, It
Yeah,
was
when
like being a
when we
rhythm guitar player was meant you were a bit lame. Oh,
yeah,
the lead guitarist. He's the rhythm guy. He's not as good.
I know. It's so funny because, when we were growing up, it was the age of blistering licks and Van
Oh, yeah,
Halen
yeah.
and things like that. But then me and you and maybe a bunch of other musicians that decided to go that way, we started going back to the 60s, 70s and
Yeah, yeah.
trying to find those guys that had the not only the groove, but the ability to create parts on the fly that were so,
Yeah.
so funky.
Oh, yeah,
You
man.
know, so
That's where it's at, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of guys that can like shred on it at a jam session. It's like it's just almost lost all of its meaning now.
yeah,
At least for me, I'm not impressed by that. Is somebody that's a fan of music. I'm not a fan of that. I want to hear. I want to hear a tune. I want to hear something. I don't want to hear somebody be like, "Hey, look at me, look at me." That egotistical kind of, desperate need for attention to try to
well,
impress other, musicians. It's like that's really boring.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's not music to me. It's just like
It's not music.
it's
No.
very obvious when someone is coming from that place. It's very obvious to hear that, as a musician. If you're a seasoned musician and
Oh, of course.
you can hear it in somebody's playing when somebody's like that, but that's not music creation. It's not interesting,
No,
you know.
totally agree.
But that's great. You've inspired me a lot with your guitar parts. Also
Oh, that's nice, man.
on that record you did during COVID. That was a workout record.
Oh, yeah. The aerobics one.
Yes, yes, it's so awesome, man.
Oh, thanks. Oh,
And
we
that.
should mention David Williams too. David Williams and Paul Jackson, Jr. too. Great rhythm guitar
Oh
players, man.
yes, absolutely. Paul Jackson. I don't know how that escaped me. Definitely one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
yeah, man. Great. I mean, like David Williams, like, ooh,
Yeah,
so accurate, man.
like
Such a
like
deep pocket.
yeah, like you were saying. There's so many,
Yeah.
uh, but okay. So let's talk a little bit about your projects that are coming up and what you're excited about now.
I think I'm now starting to work on the new Young Gun Silver Fox record, which is album number 5. So I'm really enjoying that. It's always a challenge. I think 5 albums in now, it's another challenge because I feel like on the 4th album, I think we both felt like it was the best album we'd made. And so now you have to try to top that, So I take my personal best and I have to like somehow best my personal best. And it's harder to do that now, I think. But again, it's like, go through the motions, do the work, make the best tracks I can make, and keep doing that. And then it'll all fall into place. Eventually, the best ideas will end up being what's on the album. So I'm doing that. I'm really excited about it. We're coming back to the States to tour at the end of January. So looking forward to that. I got a couple albums coming out. Finally, another kind of couple of quirky lockdown records, which are finally coming out. One is called David Fostex, which is like, in essence, it is kind of a weird comedy record. It's sort of,
but it's very funny. David Fostex.
The lyrics are crazy. I just decided, what happens if I can write songs about anything, like anything's game. And once I opened the door to that, the songs just wrote themselves. I mean, it was incredible. And I just had a great time doing it. I mean, it was so fun. I mean, musically, it's very, the production and the music is of the same standard of everything that I do, but the songs are crazy. But that's so interesting. Cool. And then I've done an album with a guy named Little Barry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's one of my favorite guitar players. He's got so much mojo. He's really vibey. He's got such a great amalgamation of different styles in his playing, man. He does like all the, his right hand is really intricate. He does lots of things with his right hand when he's playing. So he's got so many different things that he does when he's playing that to watch him is really fascinating. It's like he's constantly, where he puts the pick and how he uses his fingers and how he uses the Bigsby and how he uses feedback. And he'll do these things where he plays with his fingers like that really fast. So he's like, blah, 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 blah. He's doing that sort of thing. And then he's back to the pick and he's back to the bridge. Then he's over the neck. And then he's like, he just like has such a vibey style, and it's everything from surf guitar to, blues to R&B to country. He will also like, he kind of has this little Thelonious Monk sort of thing where he'll be playing like a very kind of classic pentatonic thing, and then all of a sudden it gets a bit fucked up. There's some funny little notes in there. It starts to get angular and discordant, and the way that he does it is so cool. The way he mixes it all together, it really is just, it's like sort of, the guitar from, the 1950s onwards. It's like that whole last century of guitar histrionics that he's brought into his own style. How it goes from psych to funk to blues to, Chet Atkins or whatever. He's got a great style, but we've made a really quirky, interesting album. That's a lot of fun as well. It's an album, I think, for the heads, but it's also something that you can just smile and laugh and tap your toe to. But I think musically it has a sort of a musical heaviness to it, but it works on a completely opposite way as well. So that's called Ultra Sonic Grand Prix. And
I can't wait to hear that.
You'll enjoy that. It's a fun, again, it's got like, musically it incorporates so many different things in a quirky way, and it's so much more than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to make a weird kind of lo-fi funky blues record, and it totally isn't that at all. It's something way more interesting. Once you get into it, it's that sort of thing about what I said earlier about the creation. You know, when you let the music take you to the places it wants to go, it takes you to some place completely different than you ever imagined. And it's always far more interesting than what you thought it was going to be. I think often when you have an idea of what something's going to be, it's two-dimensional. But when you get into doing stuff, it blossoms out and becomes, you know, three-dimensional and just way more interesting, you know, way more individual. So those are the next two things coming out. I think the Young Gun record is coming out at some point later in the year. I don't know. There is a very exciting sort of collaboration happening on that Young Gun record, but I'm not at liberty to say.
Okay.
But I think it's something it's gonna like it's gonna blow a few people's heads off. It's a mad one. It's a mad one, but I'll tell you about it later. I don't want to talk about it. I'll tell you personally.
Yeah, no, we don't have to talk about it now.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but it's gonna. A few people are gonna be whoa.
Well, that sounds exciting. I'm excited to hear those other records too, and when they come out, and hopefully see you on the next tour. You know, last time I wasn't able to see you.
Yeah, the Troubadour was just it was so great. It was so great to come finally bring that music back to LA and play, you know, a sold out show at the Troubadour. Was so gratifying, man. It was so amazing, you know. It was just one of the high points of my life, you know. Easily.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I love the Troubadour. I love the way the room sounds.
Yeah, it's just a great place to play, isn't it?
Yeah. That old wood.
Yeah, man. Room. You can't beat old wood.
Yeah.
It's all about old wood, man.
It is.
Old wood is
well,
good.
Shawn, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and making the time to do this interview with us and be on our channel.
Pleasure, man.
I can't wait for the people that I love to check out the music that I love from you.
Oh, thanks,
and
man.
Hopefully at some point I will see you in the early part of next year.
Man. Are you around in January?
I am around, but there's talk about a tour for me in February.
Okay. We're crossing over into February with the tour. It's 3 weeks. I'm not sure when the West Coast is, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully you're around.
Well, when you know, let me know, and hopefully we can see each other for a little bit.
Yeah, man.